All right, so again, welcome everyone. I'm glad you guys were able to make it this afternoon. Today we are setting off on a course, I guess, and this is session 1 of that course. We're going to be looking at Google. Well, we're going to be looking at getting Google certified and becoming level 1 certified educators. And so there's quite a few things to learn along the way. There's quite a few different programs. Some weeks we will look at just one program, like we are going to be doing today. Other weeks we might look at 2, 3, 4 programs, depending on how much is there. And with the goal of not just becoming certified, not just getting everyone level 1 certified, but then to also really start to expand on what it is that these programs can do for your classroom to enhance the curriculum that you're already teaching. And so you will need access to your online component of your curriculum. Not for too much today. We'll get more into it as the weeks go on, but I kind of want to just make sure that everyone kind of comes prepared with that, with knowing that we're going to be talking, even if it's for 2 minutes or whether it's for 30 minutes, about how these types of programs can apply into your classroom and how you can use them a little bit more effectively. So again, welcome to everyone. I'm going to put into the chat one more time the sign-in sheet. If you have not yet signed in, please do so. And if we could have a few helpers, that if I am talking and you see someone come in, feel free to just shoot out that sign-in sheet so we make sure that everyone gets credit for being here today. So I don't want to spend too much time just talking about what we will do. Let's just go ahead and get started. So let me share my screen, my entire screen instead of just one tab. And let's get started. I've decided to do things a little bit different with this one because it is part of a much more broad course, and because I do not want this to be where I walk you through everything today. I really do want it to be a workshop where you're able to get your hands in there and see the pieces as they appear, not just watch them as they come across my screen. There might be some follow-up that happens along the way. There will be some follow-up that happens along the way, especially if you have any questions and you don't get that question asked in this 1 hour time limit. I want to make sure that you have an opportunity to ask that. So what I have done is I have set up a Google Classroom that I would love for each one of you guys to join, and that's how I will be sharing the links for these sessions. So if you would take just a minute to head over to classroom.google.com and just open up another tab, go to classroom.google.com, and you are going to put in that class code to join the Let's Get Certified Classroom. And I'll give everyone about a minute or two to get that done. If you need help with that, let me know.
Okay, I guess I don't know what I'm doing. Sorry.
No, don't say sorry. And in fact, I'm going to make it a little bit easier. I kind of forgot that they have this now. I'm going to share a link into to the chat. And if you, instead of going to classroom.google.com and entering that, you can just click on the link inside of the chat and it will add you to the classroom. So takes out the thinking, I guess. All right, I'm seeing quite a few already. 13 of you right now. 22, we're getting there. 24. I see there's 30 of us in here today. So I want to make sure that we don't go too far without everyone being invited to this class. So one more time, I'm going to share into the chat the direct link to join this classroom. Give you about 30 more seconds. If this is your first time signing into Google Classroom, if you're brand new to the program, it's going to ask you at the very beginning if you are a teacher or a student. Go ahead and pick teacher. Even though you're not the teacher for this classroom, you are a teacher for a classroom. And so you'll need to go ahead and click teacher, and that'll just give you access to be able to start classes later. Okay, we're up to 27. About 15 more seconds. All right, I think we're almost all the way there. So again, if you need to join the classroom, if you could just click click the link that I just shared inside of the chat. So this is going to help us get through, move things more easily, and it's probably going to help out later whenever it comes time to go over Google Classroom. So let's go ahead and move on. So here I have a fun little infograph on 10 reasons you should get Google certified. And some of them just range from, learning more about, Google for Education. But some of them are more specific, like how to create a more student-centered classroom. And so the reason to do this isn't just so you can put something fancy on your email, although that is a perk of being a level 1 Google certified educator. But it really will increase your teaching, broaden your understanding of the things that you can do, and so I do recommend it for each one of you. What the level 1 status indicates is that you can successfully implement Google G Suite for Education in order to enhance the teaching and learning. So this is not meant, and at no point is Google meant to just do everything for you or completely take over the curriculum inside of your class. It's only meant to enhance the things that you are already doing. And it probably seems a little bit different than that this year, because it seems everything is centered around technology, good or bad, mostly probably bad for a lot of people. But when you complete this, and we're back into the normal classroom, my hope is that this level 1 certification will help you, better your teaching, even whenever we are back inside of the classroom. What we're going to be talking about a lot, not necessarily today, but through the course, is the SAMR model for technology integration, and it's broken up into 4 parts. And I love this image here, because it really depends on how you want to look at it. How deep do you want to go inside of the technology? And when we think about the ways that students learn, the more deep they go into what they're doing, the better understanding that they have of it. And it's the same thing with us as educators. We can do the light stuff where we're just substituting. We're just taking a look at a tool that we do in the classroom and just changing that tool to technology. There's really no difference one way or the other. Or, you could go augmentation modification, but the idea is that we want to get to that redefinition, and where we are creating it, whenever the students are creating, whenever the teachers are creating, and really expanding on the possibilities that we have inside of our classroom. This is just a couple information, and this document is shared inside of that Google Classroom. So if you do not, if you don't get to it before I go to the next slide, that's fine. You can take a look at it inside of the Google Classroom. If you are needing things to go a little bit more slowly, if we are going a little too fast, if you're having a hard time keeping up with some of the things that we're doing, then I would recommend you check out the official training center. There are lessons and trainings available that do go very, very slow on some of them painfully slow. But if that is what you need to get started, then this is a good place to start. And the reverse side of that, if we're going a little bit too slowly for you, then here is the Revise Skill Checklist by Eric Kurtz. Eric Kurtz is a technology, educational technology guru, and you can get basically in what we're doing today. He's provided not just the small piece that we're doing today. He's provided the much bigger piece so that you can kind of speed ahead of the course if you just want to get your level 1 certification without waiting quite as long. So I have taken the level 1 certification test. I've taken the level 2 certification test, and they are, for lack of a better term, actually fun. They're kind of cool tests because they're very unique. They're not just a multiple choice type of test. They're not just a matching. They require you to really know what you're doing on there. And I actually learned more from taking the test than I did whenever I studied for the test. It's a fun test to take. Not everyone passes it the first time, and that's okay, because it is a lot of information, and you go through it. But I really believe if you know the programs, then you really won't have any problem at all. So just as an example, while we're looking ahead about what these tests are, here's an example question, a sample question from the exam, and it's just a multiple choice. So use students in your history class are having a difficulty understanding the significance of World War II. What activities could help students get more engaged? And you just have to pick multiple choice. This one is, and it tells you how many answers that you're looking for. And so you need to put a checkbox next to two of these. This is one example of a question. Here's another one, and it is a drag and drop question. Drag and drop to match the feature of Gmail with a benefit of using the tool. So canned responses, what is the benefit? Anytime, anywhere access, what is the benefit? And you have to drag and drop. So it is an interactive test as you go through. But one of the more fun things that you get to do, the test is broken up really into two parts. First is the questions like the ones we just looked at, the drag and drop, the multiple choice. But then there's a second half of the test where you are dropped inside of a Google Classroom environment, and it provides you with documents, and it provides you with a classroom of students that are, obviously just fake profiles, but you have to do certain things. And so this is one. Your students have answered a few questions about an upcoming presidential election and submitted their results in a Google form. You want to review their opinions to prepare for an upcoming class. And so what it has you do is a series of tasks. And so you're going to access the form that they tell you and view the results in a spreadsheet. You're going to sort the spreadsheet, and then you're going to create a pie chart, and you have to put it in a certain way on there. And they're very clear on how to do that. See, in this one, it says you need to place that pie chart in column F, and then someone will take a look at your test along the way. Here's just another example. You want to be sure that your students are able to view your award winners broadcast at a later date, so you decide to share your video on YouTube. So it actually puts videos inside of your account, inside of your YouTube account, and it takes you through the steps that you need to do, and at the end they will grade it and send it over to you. The level 1 test is only $10. The level 2 test is only $25. I know at some point this year, and we would have to double check with Ms. Herval, but they were compensating people for their for the money that they spent on this test. So if you spend $10, they will provide you with $10 back, and I believe there may have been more money involved with this, but I don't want to say the wrong thing. So I will say that at least at one point this year, at least you'll get your $10 back. Now, a couple things that you need to know: you have to have a webcam and stuff. I'm just going to leave this. We're not going to be talking too much about the test today. We'll have more of a study session as this goes through, but just something to be aware of before you go through. So with that in mind, that is what the kind of test looks like. That's how things will run. And so I want to prepare you as best we can to be able to take that test. And with that in mind, we're going to be doing very, very similar tasks to what the test itself will be asking you to do. And we're going to have a little bit more as we go through. So if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and head over to classroom.google.com. And go ahead and go to the Let's Get Certified class. Hi, Michelle, you made it. Good. Oh, see, I didn't do the first thing that you're supposed to do is turn these off. So, the kids don't just go chatting in class. So shame on me, right? So I'm going to go over to the classwork tab, and the very first thing that I have assigned to everyone is the Let's Get Certified Google Docs task sheet. And so we have 31 people in the class, and I'm going to go ahead and open my version up, but I don't want to change my original, so I'm going to bring mine in, and this is what it's going to look like. All right, so I have created this task sheet that will take you through most of the things that you are going to need to know in order to take the test, and I've added quite a bit as well, just so you know the program more in depth. And so what we're going to do, it is 2:16. And first of all, let me ask this before we get going. Is there anyone who's not able to open up this document? The first thing you'll do in order to open this, you need to join the classroom using the link that is in the chat. You'll join the classroom, and once you've joined the classroom, you will go. You'll be dropped off in here whenever you join the classroom. You will click on the classwork tab, and you will click on the Let's Get Certified Google Docs task, and you'll be able to open up the document from there. So what we're going to do, I'll go ahead and get everyone started, and because we're going to have some time. It is 2:17 now. What I want to do is I want to spend about 15 minutes, and I want each person, each of you, to work through the document, doing as much of it as you can. And remember, this is your own copy of this document, so you can erase stuff, you can add to it, you can do all these things, and it's not going to mess anything up. But I want you to work through as many of these tasks as you possibly can in the 15 minutes. If you're having a hard time with some of them, just skip them. And because in about 15 minutes, then I'm going to do these same tasks. And so you can see how I did them and maybe pick up some tips along the way. So I want to give you a little bit of time in this workshop to work ahead of me, to see as much of it as you can do. If you can do all of it, you're in a good spot. If you can do half of it, that's okay. If you can do one or two things, that is perfectly okay too. And hopefully we'll learn plenty today. So are there any questions before we get moving? Before I set the timer, I guess. Okay. Well, I'm going to mute myself so that you guys have some time to work. I'm going to have a timer going again. Once that timer gets close to finishing, I'll give you a little warning, and then but you'll have 15 minutes to work, and I will see you back here in about 15 minutes.
Stephen?
Yes.
Sorry, real quick. So for example, like where it says insert an image 3 different ways, do you want us to physically insert 3 different images, like
Absolutely.
pulling from, or do you want us to list 3 different ways? Like,
it's up to you. If you need the practice to be able to find it and you just do it, that's okay. This is your document entirely. I'm not grading this document or anything like that. So if
Okay.
you already know the 3 and you can just list them, go ahead. And if you don't, and you just need to play around with it to get those 3, then go for it. It's your document.
Okay.
Rita, we will probably not be completely done with it, but again, I am recording this, so if you just need to watch just the last little bit on record, then that's what I would recommend. right around 5 minutes left, everyone, about 5 minutes. So get through as much as you can. Again, it doesn't matter if you get through it all or just a little bit, but you do have 5 minutes left. All right, everyone, time's coming up right now, so I'm going to go ahead and start working this through you. Just before we go too far, I want to look at the extra challenges at the bottom, and because I do want to come back to this as much as we can over the next few sessions of how can you use your district adopted curriculum to have your students collaborate using docs. You know, I come from this being a math teacher who's a little bit more limited in the docs environment of how you can use this, but I'm going to come down here and just share that Equatio is exactly what I would be using a lot of in order to do that. So kind of think about that. If you're a math teacher, how can you use this? Even if you have to bring in other programs or add-ons along the way. My wife uses Kami a lot, but she uses Docs a lot as well. And but the thing I want you to focus on is how can you collaborate with this, and that's kind of the push that I want you to think about is how can we collaborate using Google Docs? Not just now, but when everything hopefully gets back to normal soon enough. And so just kind of keeping that in mind, that whenever you go through these, really, I want you to get out your district adopted curriculum and look at actual lessons and see how they can be adapted to bring this in and how you can collaborate with them. Okay, so going up to the top, if at any point during this I need to slow down or if I need to speed up, whatever I need to do, just go ahead and tell me. But I'm going to kind of talk my way through and show off as best I can. Okay, so 3 ways to create a Google Doc. There might be more ways, so if you know of a 4th way, feel free to share it. The 3 ways that I know of, though, I'm going to open up a different tab and I'm going to go to drive.google.com. So I'm opening up my Google Drive, and on the top left, I can click the new button and I can click Google Docs. Now, I also have access to create a template here. That's not necessarily a separate way of doing it, but I can create not just a document, but I can also create a template. So that is number 1 from drive.google.com. The second way I can do it is I can go to docs.google.com, and this is for if you want to separate your drive into showing only documents, then you can do that from here. So here are only my documents. There's no PDFs, there's no images, there's nothing else, there's no videos, it's only the Google Docs. And on the bottom left here, or excuse me, bottom right, I can click again, create new document or from a template. So let me go back here so I can go to docs.google.com. This one is the one I use the most often, and it is my favorite. I can open up a new URL and I can type docs.new, and whenever I push docs.new and push enter, it starts me off with a brand new document ready to go that I can just start typing on. So it is the fastest way. If you need to start taking notes quickly, that is going to be the quickest way that you can do that. So I'm going to put docs.new. All right, so I'm going to put a check mark here. You notice that it's not exactly a check mark, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to click it once and it'll highlight all of them. I click it a second time and I highlight the one that I want, and I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to turn that into a check mark. If you didn't do that along the way, shame on you. There's a spot for a check mark. I'm just kidding. No shame. All right, so the second one here, rename the document to include your name in the title. Up here at the top left is where the document can be renamed. It can also be renamed by clicking File and Rename. So you can do it in a couple different ways. So I'm just going to add my name at the end of this, and so that is how I rename to put my name at the end. So put my check mark. All right, next I need to share this document, and I'm going to share it in 2 ways. First, I'm going to share it with a colleague. I'm going to share it with this dummy account here. So I'm going to copy that. And to share, and this is one of the biggest benefits of using Google Docs instead of like Microsoft Word, just as an example. On the top right, I'm going to click the share button, and I am going to type in the user that I want this shared with. So Cave Teacher, I'm going to click on their name, and I'm given the option to change this. So I want to change this. Actually, I want to keep it as editor, but I could change it to only be a viewer or only be a commenter. I can also include an email message along the way. So I'm going to share this with Cave Teacher, and I'm going to click send. And now it is saved with shared with that person. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to share this with the world, but only give them view only access. And I'm going to do that using the same way. I'm going to come over to the top right. I'm going to click on that. But here, instead of typing like the world here, that doesn't make too much sense. I'm going to change this right here. I'm going to get the link. I'm going to change this from Carlsbad Municipal Schools. And if I click on it once, it will change it only to Carlsbad Municipal Schools. And I'm going to click it again, and I'm going to say anyone with the link can view. Again, I can change this to commenter or editor if I would like. Now, in order for them to actually have access to this, I would have to copy the link and send it to them as an email or in a message or in a text message or anything like that. But for this, I'm just going to share it just like that. And those 2 items, I've shared it with my colleague and I've shared it with the world. So I'm going to put a check mark in that box. Can you remove people? Absolutely, Ashley. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on share, and I can, let's see, put this person, click on editor, and I can remove them entirely. I can make them the owner, or, and this is a newer one, it's been around for a little bit, you can give them temporary access to where maybe they only get to work on it for 1 day, and then access gets automatically revoked so they can't look at it anymore. So if you're in a PLC with someone and you know that they're going to work on it that day, you can remove it automatically, or you can go back in later and remove it. So that's how you would do that. And then likewise, you would just change this here from the bottom to go back to restricted, and that'll set it back to the way that it was before. So thank you for that question. Insert an image 3 different ways. So each of the ways is really just inserting an image. The first thing I can do is go over to the insert page, and I can insert an upload from my computer. So I'm going to upload an image directly from my computer. Here is a screenshot that I took. I have no idea what it is. So there we go. I was helping Marilyn Taylor with that. So hi, Maryland. So that's the first way is inserting it from the computer. Now I can also insert by searching from the web. There's more than 3 ways to do this, by the way. So I can search for example, Mickey Mouse. Insert it from the web. I don't have to actually have this downloaded to my computer. I can do it from here. So I'm going to click on that picture, and I'm going to insert that image. And again, that's too big, so I'm going to make it smaller. And then one more way I can do it is I can, again, click over and I can choose from my drive. So I have quite a few pictures in my drive. Here's, let's see, here's an animation. Let's see, here we go. Here's the Carlsbad logo, and I can insert it just like that. All 3 ways I picked insert, image, and then I just picked how I would like to do it. Another way you can do it is if you find something on the web, just as an example, without, I think it's smarter probably to just not even leave Google Docs if you're going to search from the web. But if you find one somewhere else, you can also right click, copy, and paste it in there. So that would be a 3rd way to do it, to insert that image. Okay, so I inserted my 3 images, and I'm going to put a check mark there. The next thing I have is to provide feedback. Okay, so how can I provide feedback? This is one of the lesser known, or maybe not lesser known, but lesser used things, is to suggest edits. And they have made this slightly easier. If I hover over this, just as an example, I now have the opportunity right here. This used to only allow me to add a comment, but now you can suggest an edit. So I can click on that, and now I'm suggesting. So maybe instead of suggest, if I don't like that word, if I erase it, now there is a suggestion over here that I should delete that and use something else. And now I can type in there as well, but what really happened along the way, that it gave me a little button that I could pick from. But what really happened is on the top right of the page there, it tells you what mode you're in. And we are in editing mode right now. And if I click on editing mode, I'm given the opportunity to change it to suggesting, excuse me. And so I can do that. And so now, instead of having to click the edit or the suggest button, I can do this and make suggestions, and everything that I type, no matter what I do, it doesn't actually do it to the document, but it makes the suggestion to do that. So if I say this is a great picture, maybe I'm not even suggesting anything, I'm just making a comment, although you should make a comment if you're going to do that. This is how you would go about doing that. And what happens is on the other end, just like it appears here, they can either accept this, which I'm not going to do, or they can reject it. And if they reject it, the suggestion goes away, and there you go. So I'm going to reject both of those. I'm going to make a comment on the document. Very, very similarly, I can highlight this, and I can click the Add Comment, and you can make a comment right there. This is a great way to provide feedback for your students on the document that they're in. In addition to the small little button that appears on the side, you can also come up to the Insert button right up here. So Insert, and I can choose Comment right there as well. So I can, just like I did before, I can make a comment and make it there. And so now both of these comments are made. And if I click on this, the highlight, it kind of brings forward what the comment is so that they could keep it separate. And then the next thing is link a comment URL here. This is kind of a different one. And so I'm still in suggestion mode. And link the comment URL. So I'm going to come over here. Here's where I made a comment, and I am going to click on the three dots, and it says link to this comment. I'm going to click on that button, and it will provide me with a URL. And oh, I don't even have to do that. I can just click the copy link button and click done, and I can right click, paste, and there's that link. So if I were to provide someone with this, I'm not just giving them access to the document, but I'm actually giving them access to this specific comment so that they go right to it. So if you have a 20-page document and you wanted one comment to be looked at, you could link that comment, either as an email, again, as a text message, whatever the case is. All right, so I'm going to put that as a check mark. Next, we have change page setup. This is one of the things that people who come over from Word that have only used Microsoft Word forever, they have a hard time with, because it's just in a different spot. And I have gotten used to this. I like it better because everything's just a couple clicks away. So first, I need to set this document's margins to 1 inch all the way around. And so to do that, and to do the next one where I can name a few other ways to change the layout, I'm going to click on File, and I'm going to come almost all the way down to the bottom to Page Setup. And I can set this to 1 inch margins. And while I'm here, I can also change it to landscape. I can change the paper size if you are printing from legal paper or whatever type of paper you might want to print from. And I can change the entire background of the page itself. So I can also set that as the default so that any new document will come with these dimensions and this paper size and so forth. I'm not going to set it as the default, but I am going to go ahead and click OK. And you can see that the background color of the document has changed, my margins have changed, and so forth. So I'm not going to list all those things right there, but there are quite a few things you can do. So again, I'm going to put a check mark there for what I've done. Okay, access version history. This is if you want to wow your colleagues, if you think someone may have cheated or not been using appropriate means to put things inside of their paper, this is where you can do a little bit of detective work here. So we can review the revision history in Google Docs and revert to an earlier version of Google Docs if we need to. And so to do that, I'm going to come over here. Well, there's actually two ways to do this. The first way is by clicking File, Version History, and you can either name the current version, it's kind of like making a copy, or you can see all of the version history. So that's one way to get there. The second way you can get there is up here at the top. It tells you how long ago the last edit was made, and if you just click on that, then it will open up the version history. So you have a couple different ways of doing this. What I like about this is almost every keystroke is logged. Basically what it does is if you type and then take a pause for more than just like half a second, it will save that as a different version, so you can always go back to it. And so you can see that here's where we started, and you can see if you hover over it, you see that my name is the person that was doing the work on it. But if I click on a newer part of this, you can again hover over it and see what change was made and who is the person that made that change. So if you have if your students are collaborating and they're working together, you can see who did most of the work. But you can also see that every, again, almost every keystroke is logged. And so if they put in a massive amount of typing all at one spot, that's probably because they pasted it, and so you can take a look at that. So we have used this, to run investigations where someone may have been cheating or working with someone else that they shouldn't have, and we can always come back here and see what changes were made along the way. So this is a great way of doing that. Now, the second part of that is, can you revert to a previous? So if you just mess up, man, I made a mistake, I should not have typed that entire page, whatever the case is, you can always click back to your previous versions, and you can click on the 3 dots on the right-hand side and restore this version. And it will erase any change made after that version, and it will make it to where that is the current version of the document. Now, if you don't want to erase everything, if you want to keep a copy of what other changes were made, you can also name this version or make a copy, and it will make a copy based on this timestamp. So you have a lot of discretion there on what you want to do with the document that you're restoring. So I do not want to restore. I don't want to lose any of the work that I've done. So I'm going to click the back button and go back to where I was, and I am done with that. So I'm going to put a check mark. We have about 9 minutes left, so there's no way I'm going to get through absolutely everything, but we'll try our best here. What are 3 different ways of writing citation format? What 3 writing citation formats are available? These are very new also. So these being able to implement citations directly inside of the document is something that is new to Google Docs. And as you know, if I had this in high school and college, oh my gosh, I would have just loved it. But what I'm going to do is click on Tools up here, and I'm going to click on Citations. So here is Citations, and you can see that it basically puts an add-on side over here, and it tells you you have MLA, APA, and the Chicago author date. So if I'm working with APA, all I have to do is click Add Citation Source, accessed by a website, and it tells me everything I have to fill in, including puts a star next to the things that are mandatory that I have to put in. And so if you are teaching adding citations the old-fashioned way, I mean, maybe you want to do that once, but don't make your kids do it all the time. There are tools available to them to help them do it much more quickly. So the answer to this question, though, is APA, MLA, and Chicago. So let me put the answers there. And put a check mark. Here we go. Moving along. Publishing. Publishing is something that you would want to do to share something, maybe not as a document, but maybe as that might look just a little bit better, although I don't really think it looks all that much better. But what it does is it changes it from a document and just changes it to being almost really like a view only. Okay, so on the top left, I'm going to click on File, and I am going to click Publish to the Web. So I'm going to click that, and it asks me how I would like to publish it. Would I like to publish it using a link that I share with the link, or would I like to embed it directly? And so I'm just going to share with a link. So I'm going to click Publish. It asks me, are you sure you want to publish? I'm going to click yes, and then it provides me with that link. Now, the second question is, follow that URL. What are the major differences? And it's pretty easy to see the differences here. So I'm going to paste the URL that I got from publishing. And you notice up here at the top, there's no buttons for me to click on. There's no make a copy. It is basically like a PDF, like a physical PDF almost in a way. You can't even save it in any way. It's just a way for you to get out the information that you need to get out. And so this updates, it says on the top right, updates automatically every 5 minutes. So it's not going to be exactly like a Google Doc. But if you're doing this, it's because you don't want it to be exactly like a Google Doc. But that's how you publish. And I know that that is one of the questions that is on the certification exam. So keeping that in mind. So that is the publishing. I think I've published that I've needed to publish like twice in the time that I have used Google. But when you need it, you'll kind of know what you need it for. And there it is. So those are most of the tasks. Now there are some various tools that these were not asked necessarily on the exam, but they are things that I think are very important. Many of these come from the quick tools. And so this first one here is the quick tools. Just be familiar with them. Of course, you have your bold and your italicize and your underline here, but you also have an insert link and an insert comment and an insert image. Here's your justification of your page and so forth, your indentation, bullets and so forth and so on. Just be aware of each one of these buttons and play around with them and see what they do, because part of what you will have to do on the exam is to make things a certain font size and bolding and underlining, just so you can prove that you've done it. And so you're going to probably use those quick tools for that. The Explore tab, let me get rid of the Citations tab. The Explore, you can get there in two different ways. And so I can come up to the tools and I can click on the button that says Explore. But they like the Explore button so much that they've actually put it on the bottom right of your page as well. So I can click on the Explore button here. And just like the Citations page that was opened up earlier, I have an Explore page. And so it basically gives you a Google search directly inside of your document so that you don't have to leave to do it. So level 1 Google certification, I can do that, and I'm given web results, I'm given images, and I'm given anything in my drive to pick from. So I can do those things, insert them or whatever I need to be. What is nice about this as well is it will directly link, it will directly create the citation. So if I'm using APA and I wanted to use this, then I believe, there we go, the cite as a footnote button becomes available. And if I click that, then it just pops it right down there at the bottom. No problem. And so if most places don't use footnotes, you're going to have to move this into a works cited page or a references page. But that is a nice little button that adds the stuff as you go through. Continuing on, we have our spelling and grammar checks. A lot of people think, I don't want to use Docs because it doesn't have those basic tools. Well, most of those basic tools are here, and we have spelling and grammar right up here. We also can, show spelling suggestions, turn that on or off, and then you have your personal dictionary. If you have words in here that it says that are wrong, or that are correct, that you just spell them in a different way, then you can add to your personal dictionary through here. And in fact, instead of going through this, I'm just going to kind of go down the tools right here. You do have your word count here in your tools. Suggested edits are just making it easier to find all the suggestions that we had been talking about earlier. Compare documents is brand new. I haven't talked too much about that, so I'm not going to talk too much about it today, other than to say what it does is it looks at two different documents entirely. And then compares the wording and everything. It's not like a plagiarism check, but if you have two people that have turned in very, very similar items, it will open those documents basically right on top of each other and tell you the differences between the two. You have your dictionary here. You can translate the document to a wide variety of languages. You can click on voice typing and type with your voice. My son in second grade, he loves to use this. And there's also some accessibility settings here that allow you to turn on screen magnification and screen reading support as well. So there's a few things right there in the tools menu. Okay, there are a couple things in the formatting that you need to be aware of. The biggest thing being there are some columns here that you can pick from, and then you can have more options. If you have line spacing, if you want it double spaced or so forth, that's where you're going to get to it. On the actual test itself, you're going to be using the headers and footers more than anything, though. It will ask you to add a header to something. It will ask you to add a page number to something, and so in your format page, that's where that is going to be. Now, we've already talked about a couple of the things on the insert page. So we have images here, but here's where you're going to insert anything. If you're going to add anything to your document, it's probably going to be here. Tables, drawings, charts, here's some footnotes, special characters, everything is going to be here, including specifically the table of contents. So if you would like a table of contents added for you that is updated automatically so you don't have to go in and do it, then this is going to be where you do that from. And then the final thing that I wanted to show, yes, is the find and replace. So of course you can find using the keyboard shortcut Control F, and that will bring up your find. But if you want to find and replace, then you can click on here and find, maybe change, the word. Maybe someone got married and they want to change Miss to Mrs. and you don't want to go through each one and look for it, so you can do that here. Just as one example, but you might have it for a common mistake that you made and you just need to change it and stuff like that. So those are most of the things that I wanted to share with you. Again, I want you to think about the extra challenges on this. We talked a little bit about collaboration. We talked a little bit about this question right here. But I do want you to bring it back to your curriculum, and you have access to that curriculum, and to look at and say, okay, how can I use Google Docs in my classroom to support my students? And I hope we can find a way to do that. So I talked way too much, but that's kind of like a common thing in my training, so I apologize for that. So this is the Let's Get Certified, the Google Documents workshop. You have a copy of the document that I just completely changed around, and it is inside of the Google Classroom that you were added to today. So if you would like to make comments, if you have any additional questions, you can hang out for a few minutes after this meet and ask them. But you can also ask those questions directly inside of that Google Classroom. I want that to be a place where we could go back and forth and ask questions, answer questions, get some stuff out. If you have a great idea that I did not share today, or if you've recently taken the test and they've updated it and there's some things that have changed, feel free to add those things, and that would be a great thing to know. So I've already talked 1 minute over. I have committed the worst sin of talking too long. So with all those things said, again, I'll be hanging out for a few minutes, but if you have any additional questions, you can hang out with me as well. Thank you guys very much for your time, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend, or week, and then a great weekend. Have a good one. All right, I'll come right back to you, Ashley. I am also going to put in the sign-in sheet for those that might have missed the sign-in. Okay. I got interrupted while you were showing the editing option, and now I don't know how to turn it off. It is on the top right, Ashley, of the document. So it's right here. If you click on it, it'll tell you right there what you're doing. But you can change it from editing to suggesting to viewing in this one location. So I hope that helps.
I don't either, but I'll ask here in a minute.
Voice to text link again, absolutely. So at the top, you can use the tools button right here. And so I'm going to click on tools, and they actually have an icon for it, so it stands out just a little bit. And there is voice typing. And so I'm going to click on that. And if you have not done it before, I have. You will be asked, Google Docs wants permission to do that. Thank you for bringing that up, Ashley. You would not have it, I assume, because, am I correct, you are using Safari? Is that correct? Yes. So that's something that I actually didn't find out until recently. The voice typing is only available if you use Google Chrome. So even if you're on a PC and you're using Firefox, it will not work. You have to have Google Chrome. You have to be working on Google Chrome in order for it to show up.
I just need to remind myself.
Yep. That is a shame too, because there's some things that I would much rather use Firefox for, or I don't have a Mac, but for those that do, they love Safari. It would be nice to just be able to use everything, but unfortunately, they don't make that available.
Right.
Let's see. Sherry, did you have any questions before I take off?
No, sorry, I just didn't log out.
No worries. No worries. You have a good one. Okay.
You too.
All right. Bye bye.